Larry, the stock market today and Tesla seem to be almost a reflection of the exuberance that I'm feeling as we go into this weekend. What about you?
Um, you know, I'm very untouched by the stock market's ups and downs. Look, we're looking at, productivity that's coming in hot. I mean, it's very impressive to see 2.5% productivity gains. We're looking at, employment that continues to look pretty damn good in terms of absolute of actual unemployment numbers. Although, as I've said before, the participation in the number of people working are not anywhere near as much as I would hope them to have been because the population is aging.
Mhm.
Um, so, we've talked about the two economies, the economy of molecules and the economy of atoms and of atoms versus,
Electrons.
electrons. And so that split obviously hasn't been altered at all. But other than that, everything's great. And, volatility has dropped dramatically. And so stocks generally are higher. Whether they can maintain that, depends largely on quite a lot of factors. But essentially, in the short term, we have to see how Congress works with this new president, how Doge works. I'm fascinated by their whatever instrumentation they're going to use to measure and then how they're going to actually execute.
Mhm.
I've got some ideas of my own. I had a interview with Dutch Rojas, this expert on healthcare costs, and that's been on top of my mind in terms of what we face by way of the budget deficit, which is, I think, the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems facing the country. And so, I think seeing that, how that plays out is going to be very central to what I think is more important than today's stock price, you know.
Yeah, but I was referring to the stock price today, Larry, as the exuberance of the market, of the investing public. I believe today's stock increases were all about what's going to happen on Monday. Not to say that they haven't been encouraged by what was basically a good week of financial news. I mean, pretty much,
And political news, because the
yeah.
peace in Israel is fairly important, and I think it would lead to um, the ability of the US and allies to deal with the Red Sea problem.
Right.
These are very big problems,
Big
and,
deals.
and it looks like they're moving towards settlement. I mean, it just looks like this incoming president need only raise his finger in warning, and everybody falls into line.
Yes, definitely true. And of course, very high on your list, very high on my list is the reigniting of the Abraham Accords. We had Saudi Arabia
Yeah.
ready to sign, and now that the ceasefire is in place, maybe they would come on board. We've got Hezbollah and Iran defanged. So it might be that this would be a great time to kind of wrap up those Abraham Accords.
Yeah, I think you need to be a little bit more patient about Saudis. I think now that we have the peace agreement, no, we don't have a peace agreement. We have is, just a very short window between when the hostages are released, the prisoners are released. There's some degree of ceasefire, and then the question is, how do we get from there
Yes.
to normalization, and then we get to the Abraham Accords? I don't think the Saudis are going to move before we get to normalization, whatever that means,
Right, right, right.
but some degree that everybody can say, yes, we have normal times again.
Mhm. Yeah, so the overall, though, that's the exuberance I'm talking about is as we move into this new year with a new president coming in with Doge, everything else. I mean, I couldn't be I'm practically coming out of my chair, Larry. If they can't tell,
I would counsel patience.
well, but that's not my.
I will tell you, I lived through the Reagan years, the first years of the Reagan presidency, and they were very tough.
They were tough.
I mean,
They were
those
tough.
first 3 years were as tough as they get. And till the green shoots turned into these massive, beautiful, strong trees, it was a very, very rough passage. And I don't know that we're going to. And this president only has 4 years.
I know. I think I've noticed, Larry, I was telling my wife earlier today that as I'm watching on X, kind of the commentary that's going on with the Democrats right now, that the commentary seems to be just use whatever weapon you've got handy to try to beat down what's happening. And it's not pretty. It's not thoughtful. It's not.
No, I mean, you only have to look at the weapons they used in the last 4 years, or the last 8 years, actually. You look at the weapons that they started with, this huge hoax perpetrated by the presidential campaign of the Democratic Party, perpetrated by them, turned into a judicial hoax, turned into, 5 years of unending,
lawfare.
And then you have to look at all the court cases that were, brought about against Trump and how they were conducted. And you only have to look at the exact same crime, quote unquote, committed by Biden, actually under worse circumstances.
Right.
And how they were treated. He was a doddering old man, and so the jury would never convict him. But he's running the White House. I mean, that image was just, it was so stark that generations in the future are going to look back in amazement at that picture, So, yeah, I don't think they're going to give up that easily.
Well, I don't think they're going to give up. My follow-on to that is that the arguments are so thin and so vitriolic that I feel as
very
if
vitriolic.
that they kind of feel like the next 12 years are just they have no chance. That it's like they might get back in 12 years from now, but they don't even have a bench. They don't even have a bench. Yeah.
I don't align with that. So much depends on what happens in Congress. So much depends on how well Trump governs. So much depends on, so many factors that are out of his control. So you take all of those factors, all of those issues, and you cannot predict the future. I mean,
I'm not predicting. I'm saying the feeling amongst the Democrats right now with no bench, losing the popular vote, losing the working class, losing the minorities. I mean, not completely, but swinging wildly towards the Republicans. I think they're disheartened. That's kind of what I'm feeling from the way that the arguments are being couched right now. They're not strong arguments.
No, they're not, and they are somewhat disheartened. But they have the Republicans have a very narrow margin in the House, and a number of extremely chaotic segments of the party in the House.
Right.
So their governance of the House is really at question. And then their majority in the Senate is paper thin when you consider that some of those senators that form part of the majority are not yet really on Trump's side at all. So this is not going to be easy, and it's only 4 years.
Yeah, we have to groom. We have to make sure we've groomed the next guy.
Well, I'm very impressed with Vance's his performance during the election was really outstanding. I think that he raised his stature quite significantly. I'm sure he upset a lot of Democrats, and that's just the nature of the beast.
So then there was Tesla this week. That was a huge lot, so much good news this week. Statements by Elon regarding Robotaxi and Optimus, many people increasing their price targets. Juniper unveiled. But the number one that doesn't get any talk because it's not sexy, Larry, and this is what I want to talk to you about, and that is the LFP patent. Oh my gosh. I think this is extremely big.
These things are very difficult to foretell. Everybody gets very excited about these issues, but they're very difficult to evaluate. Very difficult.
So,
Whether this is real, whether this is whether this can be made operational, whether this can be produced, what the results will be, how long it'll take to happen. My experience is patents take a very long time to actually, well, I shouldn't say that. They could be in production for all I know. Patents take a long time to happen.
right.
But we shouldn't take such flimsy information and blow it into something real until we understand what the company's intentions are in terms of making it operational and what the value statements are. We haven't heard from any of the experts what the meaning of this all is. So I just counsel a little bit of patience on that front.
What we did hear was it from a shock? I can't remember who it was. One of the executives.
Not a shock.
It was one of the executives who posted that the battery will be less expensive to make in the United States, even after taking into consideration.
Yeah, actually, it wasn't from a current executive. It was from the guy just retired this year. He was the lead engineer. Gosh, how can I forget his name? I don't remember any names anymore. So it was the ex VP of engineering and manufacturing.
Okay.
And so he has great insight into it. So, what he says is very important, but we don't know,
where they are on the process. We don't know.
Yeah, and whether the process will prove to be what they think it is. So.
Yeah, okay. So Adam Jonas said that he held an investor lunch and that many in the room were surprised that he didn't have a valuation model for Optimus. He said he needed to know more about the costs, the supply chain, and see more capabilities. And I thought to myself, have you been paying any attention?
Well, that's still a hell of a lot better than our friend Gary Black. Gary Black says not really a product yet, it's just an idea. I don't want to, but anyway, yeah, I think it's taking time for analysts to actually understand it, and rightfully so, because we don't yet have an idea of what the costs are. My own sense is that the bill of materials are still, in the very high hundreds or the 200,000s.
But you don't mean that on even a pilot line, it's going to be that high. On the pilot line, it's going to come down to something on the order. I'm thinking of about, 20 or 12, between 15 and 20,000 probably.
The pilot line?
On the pilot line, sure.
I would be amazed and would be very, 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 very surprised. The pilot line is still going to be in the 100,000s.
You think that when they make this 1,000 to 5,000 next year, that each one of these is going to cost $100,000?
Certainly could start at that level. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about all of them, but certainly a lot of them. Yeah.
Okay.
At the outset, look, you're not going to get from 250,000 to 25,000. You're going to get from 250,000 to 150,000 to 100,000, and then 75,000 and 50,000, and in steps.
Okay. As I look at the things that are in, we've looked at this so hard. Both of us have, of course. But when I was going over it with Scott in great detail, the most expensive thing would obviously be the chip, but the chip, that's
No,
just
no, 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 no. That's completely off course. The chip is going to be incredibly inexpensive.
because
The
it's already
chip,
done. Yeah,
the chip is done. It's been,
that's
it's
what I was
been,
going to say. Yeah.
yeah. The chip is going to be like the same price as it costs in the car. The money is in the transducers that until they get into production on a very large scale, they're going to be very, very expensive.
Okay. All right. Okay. I honestly have never made one. I've never set up a line for one. But my sense of the kind of complexity that's involved is that yes, you have all the setup costs, you have all the equipment that you have to buy to make it happen, but once you start making them hundreds or thousands at a time, that the cost comes down radically quickly.
Drew Baglino. It was Drew Baglino that responded
Okay,
on the
thank you.
batteries.
Good, good.
He was SVP of Powertrain and Energy.
Okay. All right.
He was kind of like Elon's number 2 in the engineering world.
I remember Drew very well, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
But
Okay.
he responded on the batteries. No, I mean, look, right now, I mean, I've seen some of these bills of materials from several of the robot manufacturers. Tesla may be different because they're already manufacturing electric motors, but it's going to be in the high 100,000 or 200,000. And the rate at which that comes down is not that quick for the first 500 or the first 1,000. It's when it gets into high, and they're not going to, for the first 500 or the first 1,000, they're not going to be in mass production. Elon doesn't believe in going straight to automated mass production.
But you're not going to hand build actuators, Larry, I don't think. These actuators are already, I mean, they've got to be, at some level, they've got to already be setting up lines to build these actuators.
I don't think they're starting to build
hand build the
lines
first
to build.
1,000 actuators for each of the 7 or 8 or 9 actuators. They're going to hand build the first 1,000.
I didn't say they're going to build hand build the first actuators. I didn't say that at all. But they're hand building actuators right now.
Maybe they still are. At this point, they could actually.
Those actuators are still evolving.
But we don't know that. The only thing he said that was still evolving was the arm, the hand and the arm.
No.
He said that would be finished by the end of the year and then he'd be done. I don't know.
Yeah,
we don't actually know.
I have a healthy skepticism of how this is going to all automate itself and automatically get into production and costs drop down to 50,000.
Right.
I mean, I have seen bills of material and I've seen schedules out 5 years, and I've seen these prices, and they don't look anything like 20 to 50,000 or anything close to it. Look, it's going to be a while before it's profitable.
Okay, we have these guys in China that are building robots right now, humanoid robots for 16 grand. We've got we have Atlas selling them for a little over 100,000.
Atlas has been making them for years and years and years, and I don't think they're selling them for a little over 100,000, by the way.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And I think the dogs are under 100,000.
Yeah, the dogs are the dogs are 160,000 just a year or two ago. Let's look at the price of an Atlas robot.
If we can find, okay. So, but the bots that are being made in China right now are, they're showing some pretty good capabilities, and that one is available for sale. You can buy it right now. You can pick up the phone, Larry, and buy one for 16 grand.
The price of Atlas, a humanoid robot from Boston Dynamics, is not public, but is estimated to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Estimated.
That's according to Google AI Overview.
You used Google, Larry? I'm so embarrassed. Supposed to use Grok, man.
Well, I just out of just ease of use. But normally I don't. Normally I've given up. I no longer subscribe to OpenAI. I no longer subscribe to Claude. I no longer subscribe. I've limited all of my work to Grok at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. I used Grok today for something that I'll be doing a video on this weekend. It was amazing the amount of information I got and how fast I got it.
By the way, do you know how long an Atlas battery lasts?
No, how long?
1 hour.
1 hour. Oh my gosh. All right, Larry, I want to switch to another subject here before we run out of time because I know it's a subject that's near and dear to you. Tomorrow, you and I have agreed to do probably like a half-hour program on your health conversation with Dutch.
Dutch Rojas.
But I'd like to spend like 5 minutes teasing it right now. So what would you consider to be kind of the big takeaways that tomorrow we could flesh out a little bit? Or if somebody just can't wait, and I hope they do, I want them to go watch your video. It's only an hour and 15, something like that. And excellent, excellent, excellent. So what can we talk about to tease it out, Larry?
The focus of the video, most of the video, in fact, the first 70% of the video is all on how can we reduce our healthcare costs in the United States. We have some of the highest healthcare costs in the Western world, in fact, in the world, with some of the poorest outcomes. And if that were not bad enough, healthcare constitutes the biggest single slab of our budget deficit, and it's growing such that in the out years, even if we cut everything by 25%, we're still going to have this massive deficit.
Right, right.
So it is the big problem of this coming century. And, you know, a lot of us thought that Social Security was going to be the big problem of the coming century. And Social Security does generate a deficit, but it turns out it's nothing like the deficit that healthcare is now generating and is scheduled to generate in the coming years. And the solution is so trivial and so simple that it's actually staggering. Now, I mean, I have a lot of skepticism, but Dutch really has this view, and he puts it very strongly. He knows this industry very, very well. He's been in it for 20 plus years, and he's extremely well educated in the absolute detail of it, and speaks very well about it. So if anybody's interested in healthcare costs, Dutch is the guy who's going to answer these questions.
So here's how I'll tease it. I live a 2-hour drive, little over 2-hour drive to the Mexican border. I can go over to Mexico and I can buy drugs cheaper than I can buy my drugs here. I can go over to Mexico and have dental work done way cheaper than I can have it done here. And buy top dentists, people that are down there on purpose, very highly skilled dentists that are in Mexico on purpose because they can do it so much cheaper. You can go down, you can get, there's specific places in the world that you can fly and have a medical vacation.
Well, I'll turn it upside down on you. Okay. I'll turn it absolutely down. You'll hear Dutch explain how we could supply medical services to the rest of the world cheaper than they can do it in their own country. Put people in airplanes on London Heathrow, fly them here to the United States on a Monday, operate on them, fly them back on a Friday, and charge the British government, the National Healthcare, for that entire process and save the National Healthcare money.
Right. Yes. So I set you up pretty good, didn't I, Larry? I've seen the video.
So, Dutch, it's very convincing. I think he has a really good idea. And then we did spend a little bit of time talking about the health of the country in general, right, and what we have to do to become healthier.
But he suggested, Larry, that my 4 Diet Pepsi a day situation is
probably not great.
He doesn't think it's a great deal. He doesn't think it's wise. I don't know.
He's probably right.
So all right. So that's a well worth your watch. So everybody go watch that if you want to see the original. As always, when Larry and I review something that's been done by somebody else, in this case, half by him, but with a guest, when we do the review tomorrow, we will be adding our own flavor to the reviews.
Right.
It'll be different maybe an emphasis or in kind, but covering some of the same basic stuff. Very well worth your time. All right, Larry, what else is on your mind with regard to Tesla these days? Anything more that hit you between the eyes over the last couple of days?
No, I'm really looking to
The earnings earnings call. Oh, I wanted to ask you if I know that you have a very special interview coming up, but what if your next interview was with Elon? What would your
It isn't.
what would your main question? Heading into earnings? What is top of mind? You would love if he would just absolutely tell you the truth and said anything you wanted, he would give it to you. What was your number one question?
And the question is relating to Tesla,
Yes,
I
yeah,
presume.
right.
Yeah, I'd like to. That's a very good. That's a difficult question to answer because there's
So many.
there really isn't one company. So I think what I'd like to understand from him is what is the strategy regarding AI in Tesla, vis-a-vis xAI, vis-a-vis the car, the bot. What's the big idea? What's the strategic plan for AI in Tesla that's going to unify all these products and somehow connect into X and somehow connect into xAI? That I think is what's boiling to the top. And it's very complicated because of the governance problem with the state of Delaware and so on and so forth. So, but that would be top of mind. I think that's the strategic issue that I would want to try and get an understanding what is in his mind.
Right. Interesting. I would have never that. I'm going to add that to my list. I would not have. I mean, obviously, I think everybody is interested in it, especially the stockholders are interested if they're going to be able to get any part of xAI at some point. But I hadn't. Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I would want Tesla to have a piece of xAI. I'm not sure that's the right mix. However, I can see X and xAI merging over time. And then the question is, what is the play between them? I mean, is the X app not only the app for xAI, but also the app for Tesla? And is that the unifying function?
Oh, all on one app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's an everything app, so it'll be there for the
Right.
calling the robotaxi. It'll be there for managing your own robotaxi and or your own Tesla, and it'll be there for managing your, social networks and your social media,
Your finances.
and your videos and your news and your games and your travel and your payments.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So here's what happened today, Larry. Since you don't pay any attention to the daily.
Everybody's smiling today. I noticed everybody's smiling, so I'm assuming it went up.
Oh yeah. It was a good day, Larry. We have Tesla going up $12.68, but at one point it was up 25.
What was the volume?
Let's see here. Let me go in here. Volume was 93 million.
That is respectable.
This
And
is
the question was, when it was higher than this, did the volume come after when it came down, or did the volume come when it was going up?
had a very high volume at the beginning of the session, and then a little bit of a spike when it started going down.
Yeah.
Most people that were talking about it online were figuring it was Options Friday.
Yep.
And that's probably
Yep.
what happened.
Absolutely, Options Friday.
So anyway, we ended up though, it's a very strong day, up 3%, which by the way, happens to be exactly the 2 beta for what the NASDAQ did today. So there you go.
Yeah, and the VIX is very low right now. And so, there's a lot, I mean, people are discounting the oil price. They're looking beyond that.
And it's coming down. We'll see in a minute.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming down?
It's coming down. We'll see that. We'll look at that in 2 seconds. So Dow up 334, NASDAQ up 291, S&P up 59, Magnificent Seven all ended up for the day. I heard NVIDIA was up strongly, but yeah, about 3%, about the same. And the Cathie Woods were mixed. Not 100% sure why PayPal and Square have been doing so well lately, but they've both been doing very, very well. Maybe the crypto might be crypto in the case of that could be part of it. All right, so now we'll go look at the bonds in the oil area. The bonds, of course, is a big reason why we're seeing all this good news. But that's interesting. I hadn't looked. Yeah, up. We end up going back up 1.7%, but we're still at 4.623, which is a long way from 4.8. So
It is. Yeah, it's moderating.
yes. And the 2-year up 4.5 today, though. And the 1 month up only 0.1% of a basis point. So yeah, overall bonds up a little bit today, but down for the week and going the right direction overall, at least for the last few days. Whoops, I just hit the wrong button there. But oil, apparently there was a lot of inventory, which is kind of what we've been talking about. Yeah. And of course, with the Middle East thing looking softer, and everything's looking good over there. So anyway, got $78, so down almost $3 from where it was a couple of days ago. Texas Intermediate was over 80.
Interesting. They're still pressing on these, on these limits on shipping. I mean, they're trying to constrict shipments themselves, actually, by the Russians. So it's interesting that but I guess it's because Trump will come in and free up a huge amount of acreage and a huge amount of square miles in the sea.
Yeah, I would expect. Well, I'm expecting miracles, Larry, and like you told me, be patient, Randy. Change your entire personality at this age.
Yeah. Well, Randy, he can by administrative fiat,
right,
open these territories, and if he does so, I hope he does it, and I hope the oil companies act rapidly and before the next election. I think it's very important. Yeah,
you got to get out ahead of it. So natural gas actually dropped a lot, dropped 8 points today, 8%.
Wow.
8%, under $4. That's a big move. Gold dropped a tiny bit, but still sitting there, getting close to the all-time high. Silver dropped much more, $2.14%, down to 31, but still over 30. So that's still in the range. And copper dropped 2% also. So not sure why precious metals and commodities would have been off today. So pretty much across the board, we don't know what the rest of commodities did, but copper being the canary in the coal mine was down. Of course, part of that could be the strong dollar.
Yeah.
Because so far they've all held their own, even though the dollar is off the planet. The commodities held in there. So this could be, partly that. And Bitcoin, 104,005. So I guess it's making a run at the 108, or was it 108? Is it where it got, I think?
I don't follow it that closely.
Oh, follow it closely, yeah. Me either. Just what I do.
I think, honestly, I think Bitcoin's a buy at this point.
Okay. You think it's going to 250 like Kathy?
I don't know where it's going to, but I think it's going, I think it's there's a lot of travel in that. It just looks to me like it's kind of an all-weather bull. I
Yeah.
think it'll go up or it'll go up whether we have an economic boom now or we have an economic bust. I think it's got opportunities on both sides of that of the divide.
Yeah, and of course, having Trump coming in saying that he's planning to make it a reserve currency, but I guess he's not planning to only do Bitcoin, but other crypto also as part of the reserve currency.
I'm not aligned with that, but okay.
All right, I'm not. I don't have a. I have. I'm still on chapter three. I finished chapter three. I still haven't gone past that. I've had so much other stuff, Larry. It's all this fun that we're having with the election and all this fun that we're having with Tesla. It's made it very hard for me to. Well, and then I did take that break with all that fire stuff. So that was a lot of fun too. I really enjoyed that. All right, so. I ran a poll, Larry. Now I know you don't give short-term advice, but you do short-term moves sometimes. I took a poll, like 70% or something, 80% of the people that were in my X following think that the market goes up on Tuesday.
Well, normally, you buy in the anticipation, you sell on the news. So I think that tradition is against you.
So the other tradition is that the market goes up in the 90 days after a change in
Tuesday is not 90 days. Tuesday is a day.
Day. Yes. And by the way, you would be right in what you just said, because at least the article I read said that that doesn't mean it isn't choppy getting there.
Yeah. 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 I
Okay, so
agree.
you're gonna take the unders on that, huh?
I'll take the under.
You'll take the unders. All right. We'll talk about it Monday night, see how you did.
Yeah, and the bigger question is how are we going to do from a medium to longer term point of view on the upcoming earnings call, which I think, I'm hoping that an enthusiastic, energetic Elon turns up.
That's the one we want.
Well, he's been there for the last two calls, so or even the last three calls, actually, the last three calls. So I'm looking for him to come in very strong, very positive. It'll be positive for sentiment going forward.
Yeah. That's what I would hope for too. And if that happens on top of what is probably going to be an announcement a day. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. I forgot. I didn't write it down. I haven't heard a single peep in all the reading I've been doing. I haven't heard a peep about any of the cabinet picks being in trouble. Are they
Yeah,
all?
Hegseth did very well. Pam Bondi did very well. I mean, gave she gave it stick. I don't think he's going to lose a cabinet appointee. It would
Interesting.
be very difficult in this, environment to look. The Democrats are all going to vote as a block against all these nominees.
Except
Period.
Fetterman. Except Fetterman.
Yes, Federer. The real problem is how many Republicans are going to, decamp, and then, Fetterman is going to be very important in terms of offsetting that balance. And there may be one other. I don't know.
Yeah, there is one of them. There is one of them. Yeah. There's one
Yeah,
of them that might flip. Yeah.
yeah, so it's very important that, this be done. And look, on balance, I think he's chosen a really good cabinet.
Yeah. I
So
would.
it's be interesting to see Kash Patel go up there and see how that goes. I have the highest respect for him. A lot of people dislike him intensely,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm very impressed with him.
Yeah, well, like I say, the interesting part for next week, well, for it's already been so interesting, is just going to be the daily. I mean, it's daily. Every single day, there's something that is headline making and, in my opinion, positive. And
But he's got so little time. He has to act. And so, Congress being roiled up with these, these votes I mean, it's not helpful. He needs to get on, get his program underway. And as long as Congress is still appointing his appointees, it's not helpful.
right, right. Okay, that's all I got, Larry. You got anything else? All right, well then to all of you there is let me just maybe make a couple of recommendations here. Later on tonight, there will be a video where I will be talking way more about my speculations around that patent. Even though Larry says I shouldn't speculate, I'm going to anyway. And well, actually, I had Grok speculate.
Yeah, well, it's fun to speculate.
It's fun to speculate. And then, and then tomorrow, Larry and I will be on. I'm not sure what time tomorrow, but we'll do that show tomorrow where we really dig into the details of that health reducing the cost of healthcare and improving the health of the citizenry. All right, Larry. Again, thank you for being on, and to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.